Heat up the milk too much, they'll complain. Don't heat up the milk enough, they'll complain. Heat up the milk to the perfect temperature and consistency, they're probably still going to find something to complain about. Today, I'm going to be talking about temperature gauges, thermometers. They are a basic tool that you will start out using in cafes. Some cafes will be pretty religious about making you use them. And they can be great tools at consistency to make sure that your milk is the perfect temperature every single time. However, there are some things to watch out for when using your thermometers. Some of the issues you can have with them: the plain basic stainless steel ones are spring loaded, which means that the springs will wear out over time and they can also be damaged by dropping. So if you've had your thermometer for a while, it's probably best to do a little double check, like quality control, which I'll be going over in a few short moments. So over time, yeah, they can become inconsistent. This can happen depending on how you store them. If you're storing them out in the open with the fluxities of temperature that you get, they can give you an incorrect reading fairly often. So it's always best to store them in a dry drawer, away from sunlight. That's always a perfect consistent temperature. They can also be adjustable. So I saw at a roastery I worked at, they showed me this. The actual gauge on top, the temperature thing, could be moved, which obviously isn't going to show you a good temperature because you can change the 20 to a 15 and the needle will stay on the same point. So aside from these digital scales, the analog I should say, you can get digital scales. They are a lot more consistent, and will give you a much better reading. They can also be used for the fridges. So if you're doing food safety stuff, you should be recording what temperature your fridges are at because that needs to be pretty set. And normally you will have to keep a registrar for the health department, just in case you get one of those snap health inspections like I have encountered a couple of times. So another type of thermometer you can get is the jugs. You can get jugs that have a temperature gauge on the side. These can be very, very handy and they're very cool to work with. However, again, depending on how you store them and how you clean them, it can show you consistent or inconsistent temperatures. So one thing to watch out for with these is to make sure that you're washing them up by hand. Don't be washing them up in a dishwasher, as the heat and hot water will give you that worn out reading and it won't look correct. Another thing to do is to stop heating just before you get to that temperature. There is a little bit of temp lag as such that occurs. So if you stop it exactly at 60 when it's reading 60, it might push up to 65. So if you're only looking for 60-degree milk, it will be a little bit hotter than you're expecting. So gauge that. See the point it raises to after you've cut it off to ensure that you are getting the right temperature every time. Quality control. This is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes it's good to put some boiling hot water into a cup and put your thermometer in there to see what it is reading at. Know the temperature that's going into the cup and then ensure that the temperature gauge, the thermometer, is giving you the correct reading. This is a really foolproof way of making sure your thermometers are working properly. Also, don't let the thermometer touch the side of the jug. If the tip of it is touching the bottom of your jug, it won't be giving you a reading of your milk, it'll be giving you a reading of the metal, which is often different. So that can throw you out a little bit. Also, ensure that you are properly cleaning your thermometer. Try not to do any cross-contamination. That is taking it from a soy jug and putting it directly into a full cream jug. Make sure you rinse it off with at least some hot water beforehand. And even if you're using the same thermometer over and over again, make sure you're rinsing it out, because sometimes you can get a build-up of the milk and that fat just in the clip there, and that can, it's not a good look. It doesn't look very good at all. So tune in tomorrow where I will be going over some milking techniques, how to steam your milk efficiently, effectively, nice and quick, as well as how you should probably be taking care of your steam wand.